Tony D and Little Joan, and this is a hot take. I don't do a lot of political videos on YouTube anymore because, well, it's YouTube, and they were flagging me, and I was suddenly having problems. If you want to see my political opinions on most days, you can switch over to Rumble, Bitchute, or Odysee and see me rant on a daily basis and make snarky comments. But this one I'll talk about. So this is I guess it's a TikTok of a woman going on and on how that she can't understand how Donald Trump was certified as president by the Democrats and not a single Democrat objected. And she is like, oh, we're on our own now. We're on our own. Here's the thing, you always were on your own. These people are politicians. They were always out for themselves. We told you that. People see there's only two groups politically in the United States. That is people who support the regime because they are gaslit or they just figure like this is my best bet. It's going to help me the most, so I'm going to support the regime. And everybody else. People who are skeptical, people who are independent thinkers, some people who are contrarian, people who have sometimes crazy political views, but mostly it's people who just quickly realize after they become an adult that politics is a dog and pony show where the two sides pretend to come out on stage and hate each other, and then they go backstage and they have wine and laugh and have a good time. Now I'm 58 and I've been seeing this for decades. You know, I was shocked and appalled when I saw media figures partying with George W. Bush, and in their articles and videos, they'd be lambasting him all day long. And I'm like, how can these guys go to a barbecue with Bush and expect to be objective? These guys all go to the same parties. They all do the same thing, line their own pocket. Nancy Pelosi is probably the worst example of this. This woman is in Congress, and I think it's not just greed that keeps her in there. I think she can't leave office. I think the moment she leaves office, she ceases to be useful to the regime, and she could have a lot of problems. Because you're talking about people who are utterly ruthless. Now, you look at Trump and you say, well, isn't he utterly ruthless? Yeah, but the difference is he's utterly ruthless in our favor. Being utterly ruthless is a good thing if the guy's on your side and you need help. So, for instance, if you were accused of a terrible crime and you're innocent, you might need an utterly ruthless lawyer to get you out of trouble. If you were at a bar and some psychopath was harassing you, you might need an utterly ruthless bouncer to confront him. We're in trouble here in the United States. Now, I don't want to get too hyperbolic. It's not that bad. But Trump is the guy we need to stand up to the powers that be at this current time. Now, in other years, he probably would have been not such a great choice, you know? If Trump had ran, let's say, in the 90s, after Clinton, you know, I don't think it was the right time for him. I'm not sure how he would have reacted to 9/11. Now, maybe he would have done some of the cool stuff he's doing today, but I don't know if he would have had the savvy to deal with it. I don't know if he would have even been a Republican back then. I think in 90, when did he switch over? In 2000, he would have been, probably still would have been a Democrat, I think. I mean, he supported the Clintons. So who knows? My honest take on Donald Trump is he didn't think he could be elected. So he ran. He got nominated, to his utter shock. And he would run against Hillary Clinton, and he expected to lose. And then once he was done, he would write a book and launch his TV network or whatever. But much to his shock, he got elected. Now, some of that, I think, was due to the gross incompetence of Hillary Clinton, but and her campaign. But maybe it was, I don't know, some of the deep staters didn't particularly like Hillary and her bossy ways. Thought, we'll just boss around this Trump guy. So maybe they let him win in 2016. I don't know. Because they seem to have all the levers of power, and then they definitely use them, in my opinion, in another election, which I can't mention on YouTube. Anyhow, this time, well, I think some of the election had been fortified so that we could get a fair result. Because shenanigans did go on in certain elections that I cannot talk about on YouTube. So, people like this who are so in the bubble that they can't believe the Democrats won't stand up. See here, she says, they're just handing away our democracy like our lives. I don't even think she believes that, at least not now, the way she says it. If literally they were handing away our democracy and our lives, you would pack your bag, get into a car, and drive across the nearest border. I mean, if you were genuinely that worried, you would leave. You would leave. You would leave the country. I mean, it's such a, what do they call it? Performance. It's such a performance for these people. They're videotaping themselves and just say, oh my God, I can't believe it. You don't even believe it. The problem is your virtue signaling is over. And your ability to stand up and say, oh, see, we're much better than you, is starting to crumble around you. And I think a lot of these people watch too much media on television, mostly MSNBC and places like The View, and they believe it. And now that none of what they've said has come true, they're in utter shock and disbelief. They don't know how to live because they've been living so long on this high. Somebody called it like a fear high. This fear, oh God, if Trump got elected, we'll be put into camps, and there'll be fascism everywhere. No, that was never going to happen under Trump. Biden, I don't know, man. Biden was getting scary towards the end. And Kamala is scary. Kamala is one of the scariest MFers on the planet. That she even had a shot at being president should scare the bejeebus out of you. A woman who essentially blew her way to the top, no thanks. No thanks. That kind of ruthlessness, yeah. Again, I'm not saying Trump's not ruthless. I think he is. But he's ruthless for us for a reason. Now, most of that reason is self-serving. He wants to have an amazing legacy, and he understands what that actually means as a populist guy. Kamala Harris's idea of as a legacy is, send out a PR press release to the reporters to tell everybody what my legacy is. That's what they're doing with Biden, right? They're like saying, oh, here's Biden's legacy. It's not Biden's legacy. It's a bunch of PR spin that nobody believes. And this time, I mean, in previous years, not only did people believe it, but We had nothing else to compare it to. Prior to the internet, you had very little to compare it to. You could go into a library and research and read and read and read. And there would be a handful of people who would say, no, that's not the way it happened. And people would go, I don't know. I saw something on the news the other day. You seem crazy. Uh, but now, people on the internet, they're all that guy because you can research stuff in like seconds now on the internet and get. I mean, you're not always getting good information, but you can at least get different information. Unfortunately, I think people who follow the Democrats train themselves not to ignore the internet per se, but to start with the conclusion we can't elect Donald Trump and then run out and find all the reasons. And then they kept feeding them fake reasons, essentially. Scott Adams likes to say that the Fine People hoax was the tent pole that held up all the other hoaxes. I mean, that could be true. I don't know. At this point, I think some people have even forgotten about that and they still hate Trump. But most people just can't be turned in their politics. They kind of have to have this moment. Then they're finally starting to have this moment of, oh my God, the government is a sham. Politicians are a-holes. Yeah, they're all a-holes. You might like one or two of them, and there's a handful of them that are kind of cool. But for the most part, these people, they might start with noble intentions, but the moment they get into the halls of power, everything changes. It's like, well, you got to raise money or you'll never be elected senator. You got to raise money or you'll never be elected to Congress. And that's at least partially true. And the people who give you money, well, they expect something back for it. Even groups of people who give it to you expect something back for it. And I'm talking people who give you, say, $50 a piece or something. They're going to expect, if they support a candidate, they're usually supporting for a reason. Well, I want you to vote against Donald Trump, or I want you to vote for Trump's agenda, or I want you to, I don't know, stop all the overfishing, or I want you to give us more fishing, like whatever your issue is. And but the idea that the Democrats, who for years beat the drum, oh, we'll lose our democracy if Trump's elected. Well, now you know that was complete and utter BS. We'll all die if Trump's elected. Women will be in those red hoods like from that TV show. That was all BS to scare you. But she's going to have to figure that out for herself. I mean, you could explain it to her a million times. And it's not that she's stupid necessarily. It's just that her instinct will be that, no, that's not true. I'm not the one that's wrong. I must have been tricked somehow. Well, not tricked. Like, I got bad information. And so it's... in people's minds, you got to be able to blame somebody else. Like, well, I would have been smart enough to know this if it hadn't been for CNN or whatever. CNN should have told me the truth. It's CNN's fault, or MSNBC's fault, or whoever she's listening to. So, if you're a Democrat and you're like jaw on the floor that there's absolutely zero protest about Trump's inauguration, understand that, number one, the political shift in this country happens, I think it's about every 100 years is the pattern. So this happened once before. It happened when the, I guess they were the Whigs. They ceased to exist as a party. I forget who replaced them. I want to say the Federalists, who then became the Democrats. I guess the Whigs were the Democrats. I don't remember, but you can look it up yourself. I should have done that ahead of time. At some point, the Republicans came in. I forget who they replaced. What's old is new is old. It happens. There's a political shift in this country. I was reading Justin Raimondo on antiwar.com. He has since passed, but if you go back and look at some of his old articles, you can see what he was talking about. He saw the realignment during the Bush administration, that there were a lot of conservatives saying, we have to stop this. We can't just keep going to war overseas. And that took hold. It was made popular by the MAGA movement and Trump. And now the Republicans are the anti-war party. The Democrats are now the pro-war party. So pretty much, unless you're completely tone deaf, as some people still are, if you have any kind of self-realization or any kind of grip on the issues, the Ukraine war is not the exception to the rule. It is another cash grab pushed by people in this country who want us in war so they can make billions of dollars. So they can steal money from us, put it in weapons that we pay for, not them. We pay for. They make billions of dollars, and other people die who they don't care about. No one's being saved. No one's being helped. You're just lining the pockets of rich people. Now, a lot of those guys existed on the right because for a long time, conservatives supported the war machine because early on they thought they had to during the Cold War, and they got completely sucked into it. Now it's the Democrats, and you see the results. We need to get out of all these countries, bring back the troops, bring back our equipment, and stop spending all this money overseas. Hopefully this realignment will do that. What will the hardcore Democrats do? Oh, Trump is removing us from all these countries. We need these bases. You know what? You can pay as much income tax as you like if you think the government's so great at spending it. You can just send them an extra 1,000, 10,000, however much money you want. You send it. Send it all. Send all your money, for all I care. But they are bad at spending money. They are thieves, 99% of them. And you should have been way more skeptical. The Democrats of old were very skeptical. The Democrats coming out of the 60s and 70s, oh yeah, they were very distrustful of the government. Now, they didn't have great solutions, but they were at least distrustful of the government. And for a long time, that seemed to be their deal. But something changed in the 90s, and now here we are. So, yeah, we are on our own. We've always been on our own. That's why we need a populist candidate, because a populist candidate, by definition, is for the people. They have to be. Trump has to be for the people. That's his brand. So if you want a Democrat back in the White House, and I don't know why you would bother to make the distinction, they have to be populist. And it's not Bernie Sanders. He is not a populist. He is a communist, and there's a huge difference. And I don't have time to explain that to you. But, yeah. Is this a mental illness? Kinda. Because I think people like her brain has probably been gaslit for so long, she's just, stymied at reality. Reality, I mean, there's been dozens and dozens of TikTok videos, mostly of women, like 90% are women, going, oh, Kamala Harris is going to take the crown. I mean, I get it. Look, in 2020, I really thought Trump would somehow do something. I thought the Republicans might actually do something. And when they didn't, God, I was pissed. And I was flabbergasted that they had, I mean, so I get it. In 2001, Al Gore, I was flabbergasted he didn't say something. That not one single senator objected to the vote count. But that's not how politics works. So if you really want to get into politics, get into it. Dig deep. Read stuff. Watch some videos at the very least. I mean, I'm lazy. That's what I do. And try to get some sort of other perspectives into your brain. If you're not going to do that, don't trust what's popular. And definitely don't trust what's on TV and in newspapers now. You can't just surface this. We're way past just surface. There's too much at stake. America is number one, baby. It's where the most money is. If you don't think the people in power won't spend millions of dollars trying to gaslight you, you are wrong. You're just plain wrong. It is very profitable to gaslight you, because if you vote the wrong way, billions of our tax dollars go right into their pocket. And that's the truth, as I see it. And that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Check us out on all those other sites I told you about. I will be at the Mullica Hill Library on Thursday at 7 p.m. And this time I'm not doing my talk on the Jersey Devil. Officially, I'm doing my talk on how to get published in South Jersey. So talking about book publishing and all that good stuff. I will bring books. I will maybe tell Piney stories if I'm so prompted, but mostly I'm there to tell you how to get published. So hope to see you there. We'll see you